Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. This is another Q&A little video. We take one question, answer it, give our honest opinion, our thoughts. Hopefully we help somebody. If nothing else, hopefully we give you something to think about and to consider.
Muddle over.
Right. This week's question is similar to one we did a few weeks ago, where at the time that person said, how do I make sure as a submissive I get my needs fulfilled? And we gave kind of general thoughts.
Right.
This week is from a person who's like, yeah, I've done the things I'm supposed to do and it's still not happening.
They've done their due diligence.
And how are we going to make this work?
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
All right.
Okay, let's get into the question. I recently listened to an episode where you covered the topic of kink as an identity versus a behavior sometimes performed. I feel like this resonated a lot with the struggles me and my Dom are going through, in that oftentimes he taps out of Dom headspace and leaves me and my needs as a sub hanging. This isn't in a malicious way. I understand he has a lot more responsibility with work, and Domming me 24/7 can be tiring. However, often I'm left with a sense that my needs aren't being fulfilled, while he always gets something out of it when he wants to play. It could come across that he's unwilling to give a little to at least help me get by on myself, and feels very all or nothing. For reference, our main dynamics include DDLG, pet play, and bratting, with the latter being the worst offender for not receiving anything back when the effort is put in on my side. I really want to make this work between us, as everything else in our relationship is happy, but we're at a wall as to how to navigate these moments. So let me get this straight. Dom agreed to Dom in certain ways to reciprocate, gets what they're wanting and needing out of the play, out of the moment. Right. But then because they're tired or they have work, they're not giving their submissive partner what their submissive partner wants and needs as well. And so said submissive is then left hanging, but things are good and you're happy. How are things good?
I know. I'm assuming good in other ways other than the DS.
I know, but this is me being very, very critical, and of course we don't know the whole situation.
Right.
But my thought is, if you have a partner that leaves you hanging in pleasure, they surely leave you hanging in other parts of life. A person doesn't typically, in my experience at least, fall down on the job only in one section of life.
Yeah.
There's usually something else where they're either not, putting in equal effort, or they've got a lot of reasons why they can't do something. And I say that as a person who has absolutely had partners that I gave all the grace to, and I made all the excuses. It's entirely possible this person is absolutely happy with everything else. It's this one spot. So if that's the case, my initial thought is, does this person even really, the Dom person, really even want to be doing what they're doing?
Yeah. I'm going to start with the most pleasant of the thoughts.
You're better
first.
than me.
Okay. One of the first things I thought of in this, when they talk about how, they have a lot of work responsibilities and whatnot, is it a possibility that in their negotiations and setting up their DS and everything that they're doing, that it's overwhelming? To the Dom.
Sure.
That is entirely impossible. Early on, especially after we moved in, after being long distance, we kind of fell into that trap that, too many things at once.
Right. It was overwhelming for both of us.
And it was overwhelming for both of us at that point. So, this could be one of those things where, okay, let's step back. Let's renegotiate this.
Right.
What happens when life throws shit at you?
Oh, sure.
With the DS. So this may just be a case where they need to step back, renegotiate, and simplify things a little bit.
This also means that dominant partner has to be willing to admit that things are overwhelming.
Yes.
And that things are not working.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is very much a huge part of it. But step back, renegotiate. The sub would need to at that point, I would say, okay, well, what is the most important need that I have to be met, and incorporate that into the simplest, of the negotiations, of the dynamic.
What's my bare minimum that will make me happy and feel fulfilled?
Right.
That I will accept.
Mm-hmm.
And what can they give?
Right. So, that I think is the nicety.
Yes.
Of it, okay.
That's being charitable and assuming that the dominant partner wants to be a full participant and is not communicated and I can see there being reasons why a dominant partner would not communicate that they're feeling overwhelmed. If they have it in their head that somehow makes them less dominant, or that's not a dominant trait, or that they're failing somehow. I mean, I can, if I'm being charitable, I can absolutely see that.
Sure.
So yes, the charitable answer is maybe you need to renegotiate because maybe Dom's feeling overwhelmed by everything. Okay.
Now the not so charitable response. I'm sorry. This is negotiated. And they are not pulling their weight.
It's frustrating because there's a responsibility that both partners bear, but from a power exchange perspective, there's a responsibility that a dominant bears, that they said, okay, I'm going to take control.
I'm going to do X, Y, Z.
Do these things and be in control of these things, and my partner is going to give up some level of power to then not follow through and make sure that at least enough of the times, some of the times, that your submissive partner is feeling fulfilled and getting back what they're putting into it. We've had these conversations because of energies, because of circumstances, because of physical and mental wellness or illness. Like, you can't always give your full 100% all of the time at your peak like you would want to.
No, nobody can.
Nobody can. But when that happens, you have to communicate, hey, this is going on, hey, that's going on. But more often than not, a partner who is giving should be receiving something. It should not be that the little bit they receive are the crumbs, that it happens so infrequently, and this is me filling in blanks here. I don't know this, but this is where my mind goes. They're probably receiving so infrequently that they're grateful for it when they get it. Yeah. That is a lack of responsibility on the dominant partner's part. Sure. They took advantage of what they get as a dominant and won't give back. And you know what? People do have stressful jobs, and work can be a lot. But I know from experience that if JB knows he can't give at the level that he's going to receive at, then we're not doing any fucking thing. Yeah. Because it's not supposed to be one-sided. Not all of the time. And,
while I am not absolutely perfect, for the most part, I do try to communicate that to you.
Right.
At times, when I see those things coming on.
Right. And that's a practice thing. You get better at it over time. I go back to, it depends on how each partner views their individual roles in power exchange and the stereotypes and the cliches and the fantasy they have in their head. And it is very easy for a dominant to not want to admit, air quote, weakness. It's very easy for a submissive to give too much because they're afraid of letting their partner down. That is not uncommon at all. And it comes back to communicating before you get in the middle of it. To me, short of a medical fucking emergency, if you are in the middle of the fucking scene, you are in the middle of the moment, and the dom has gotten what they want, they have to follow through. I kind of don't care how tired you are. Well, I really don't have patience or kindness. I don't have charitable thoughts for that.
And you're absolutely right, because here, this is something that has been negotiated. Okay, so at that point once it's negotiated, that dominant has the responsibility to follow through with their commitment.
Now, let's be clear. either partner can withdraw their consent at any point.
Sure.
Nobody has to do anything they don't want to do. But if a dominant partner is constantly or consistently withdrawing their consent after they get what they need and they like and they enjoy and leaving their partner hanging, then how is this a reciprocal power exchange anymore?
Yeah, it's not.
It's not.
It's not. They don't say how long this has been going on. Which is something, is this something that just kind of started short term, or, has this been going on for months and months?
Or is this a feature of the relationship or a bug? Yeah.
Not that I know a whole lot about brats. I don't have a brat. I just have a very sassy individual.
You do. You do.
But, one of the things I do know about brats, when they brat, they want that.
They're bratting for a reason.
Right.
Right. Subconscious or consciously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want that, for a lot of brats, they want that struggle, that push and pull to
the give and take of
the give and take of the interaction. And if you're a brat and you're not getting that,
yeah, now you're just dissatisfied and
right.
And, yeah.
So, that's a big thing too. And, not everybody's able to handle brats. Let's be honest. That's,
no, they're fun until you realize their work.
Yeah.
And I say that as somebody who rides the line between sass and brat.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, because bratting typically requires a lot more mental energy from my perspective and the things I've seen in the conversations I've had. Mm-hmm. Handling a brat and bratting often requires mental energy, less physical until you get to a certain point, whatever.
Right.
And if the problem is that a dominant partner does not have the mental energy to handle it at the time, this is where communication is even more important. There are ways, and they're going to be different for everybody, where you just sort of come up with kind of a code where you put, it's sort of like you put up the bat signal when you're ready to, you're feeling, in this case, you're feeling your brattiness, you want it to be reciprocated, but nobody wants to put that energy out and then have it just hang there and then fall away and it not be given back in some way. So if you can develop a shorthand, a system, a way of communicating where you can check in with your dominant partner to see, hey, do you have the energy for this? Because it's a conversation we've had a lot in the past when we talk about bratting, that it is a consent thing. The person who is being bratted at and now has to respond in whatever way you both deem satisfying, they've got to be ready for that, and they've got to be in the moment and in the mindset. And if something's happening consistently where a partner cannot give you that before, it's better to know that before you put that energy out. You may still be dissatisfied and unfulfilled, and that is a conversation about, where is this relationship going? Is it supposed to continue? Are we actually as compatible as we thought we were in this, right? Mm-hmm. But if you can find a balance of putting out a feeler to see, hey, are you up for this? If they're never up for it, I think we're back to negotiation. Is this really what they want?
Right.
And then you're also back to, are you even compatible? But if what you find is that by giving them the chance to go, not right now, maybe later, and there's a balance over time of you get the fulfillment when you expect to get it, right? Like you say something, or, I mean, it could be as simple as, I'm feeling a little sassy today. How are you feeling? Well, then the answer would be, I'm not feeling it. This is not the time, right? And so then okay, I'm going to have to do something else.
I mean, there have been times when Kayla has unleashed the sass, and I've just been, no, this is not the time and place for it.
But giving you the opportunity to do that means I don't put that sass energy out there and then either get nothing in return or get the opposite of what is fun, right?
Yeah.
And what that means is when I do put that energy out there and you're in the space to give it back as good as you're getting it, then we're having a better time.
Right.
So again, I'll go back to a charitable thought. There could be a managing expectations that, yes, your energy levels may be off. Like you want to brat and get that feedback from your partner more often than they are willing to accept it. The thing to figure out is, are they ever willing to accept it? If you come up with this little like way of checking in before you do anything bratty, and they never give you the go ahead, then that would tell me that they don't actually want to participate in the bratting. Then you're back to, are you compatible or not? If there's a range of half the time they do and half the time they don't, then you have to decide, is that enough for you?
Right.
Are you fulfilled with that? And I think that's true of any other kind of play. In the list that they have, DDLG, that can be kind of ongoing. It can be situational. Pet play can be situational or ongoing. It depends on how you've set that up. If it's a scene you're planning, now that's where I get really frustrated. If you're planning a scene and you've planned it and you've sat down and right before it's go time, to your knowledge, everybody involved is in it, and then you get towards the end of that scene and your dom has gotten what they want, and now they're done and they think they get to be done, and it's not, again, because there's a boundary, being pushed too hard. It's not a lack of consent. It's not a medical emergency. It's not something that means they cannot fulfill their promise, and they're just not. That's an irresponsible dominant,
right?
And I don't know that they deserve to be your dominant,
right?
That's what's happening.
And if that is the case, then you kind of need to look at things and assess if this is worth what you want.
Right. Every relationship requires compromise and some level of tiny bits of sacrifice. You don't always get what you want when you want it. However, one partner should not do all the sacrificing. One partner should not be walking around wondering if today is the day that maybe they get some of what they want, while you can almost tally up daily how much your partner is getting. And that does tend to fall to submissives.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because one or both partners don't understand that there's a power imbalance, but the two sides really are equal. They don't understand the responsibilities of what a dom ought to be doing.
Right. I mean, even in a situation where you're talking about someone who, leans more towards a slave side, and from the outside you would kind of think, oh my God, they gave up all control. What do they get out of it? That had all been negotiated prior.
And there are needs that they have that are being fulfilled by this.
And by being in that dynamic, somehow, some way, their needs are being met. Guarantee you, if a slave is not having their needs met in that kind of dynamic,
I hope they're noping out of it.
Right.
But that is sometimes the answer. You can have all the conversations you want. You can renegotiate. You can put up little signals and try, to communicate in certain ways to make it very clear for both partners of what you would like to have happen. You can do all of those things, and that other partner can still nope out at the wrong time and leave you hanging. And at that point, the question has to be, what am I doing here? Like, how is this relationship serving me? Now, is it easy to unentangle yourself from a relationship? For many of us, not at all. What if you're sharing a home? What if you're raising kids? What if, sure. And sometimes it's easier, but it's always it's easier. What's the word I want? Oh my God, what are words? It's easier on the details of we don't, I can go rent a place. We're not raising kids together, whatever.
Right.
But that doesn't always make it easy emotionally. So I don't suggest reevaluating whether you should even be in a relationship, cavalierly. It's not an easy thing. It's often a last resort. And I think that's okay for it to be a last resort. If you've done everything else, but that needs to be the question.
Now, I will say this, because they don't say if they, are in a long-term committed relationship in any way, and if they have been incorporating DS into their relationship, into an existing relationship, so to speak. We don't know that. There could be other underlying things going on, and I know it's not that easy, like you say, to untangle yourself. If you have a committed, if you have kids, you're sharing a house, whatever. If renegotiating this between yourselves isn't working out, maybe a kink-friendly counselor,
sure,
would be a way.
Sure,
might be able to help work through some things, because there may be other underlying things going on there too.
Right, but My experience has been, and obviously I don't have all of the experiences, okay? I'm a lurker everywhere, so I'm constantly observing, both in person and online. More often than not, it is a mismatch in expectations of what power exchange is. It's a mismatch in kinks. It's a mismatch in desires.
Yeah.
90% of the time, it's that.
True.
And more often within that 90%, it's from the dominant side. It's a misunderstanding of what dominance really is. And as this person started out the question, is it identity versus kink behavior? And for some people, if it's not part of their identity, it's easier to just put down and go, well, I don't want to do this right now.
Right.
That's where I go back to, are you even compatible?
Yeah.
Is power exchange and the kinky play right for the two of you as individuals? That is a question only you can answer for yourself.
Right.
So, it was very long-winded and windy, but let's do a slight recap, okay? Yeah. First thing, I agree with you, the most charitable view. Talk to one another and find out if your dominant partner is feeling overwhelmed by everything you negotiated, and if you just need to renegotiate and simplify and back up a little bit, put some things to the side and not worry about those right now, and go for just what you both feel that you can commit to.
Right.
The other thing would be to create little communication tools, codes, ways of interacting so that you can check in with your partner before you go into brat mode, before you bring up this, before you, whatever the roles are you're trying to inhabit and get something from, make sure they're on the same page with you. 3, it may be that this person wants all of the privileges of dominance and is not willing to take on the responsibility of it. Mm-hmm. It may be that you are incompatible. It may be, and I hope not, if you're happy, if you're genuinely happy, then I want you to be happy and I want you to be with the person you want to be with. But if all of those other things are failing and nothing is working, then it may be time to go, what am I doing here? Is this something I can remove myself from?
Right.
Is this a power exchange I should be in? And there are no easy answers.
No.
It's all complicated. It's all personal. What you may do will be different from what I might do, and that's okay. You just have to figure out what feels right to you in the moment. And then remember, you can change your mind at any time. You can always change your mind.
It's true.
Take a path, see what happens, and then figure out if you need to turn right or left and do something different.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That is, those are our thoughts on this week's question. Mm-hmm. If you have a question that you would like us to answer, link down below to our little contact page. It'll come to us as an email, and you may see your question in a future one of these videos. Mm-hmm. If you enjoyed this, we love a thumbs up. If you like it enough to want to come back for more, please consider subscribing.
And once you subscribe, go ahead and ring the notification bell to get updates of new content.
Just do what Daddy says. And if you really, really like what we do, want to help us do more of it, you can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/KaylaLords. Get access to a Discord server, extra content, live streams, all kinds of stuff. You can join for as little as $2 a month. Bye.